We are down to the last major learning objective, which is a hands-on and summarization. Now, this is going to build from the white belt to the yellow and green belt. For the white belt, we are going to focus on taking all the documents that we've created so far, these transcripts, including the white belt testing document that you'll see next, the transcripts from the classroom sessions, the hands-on transcripts, with some other documents like the Microsoft, the Frontier firm is born. There's about 100 pages of documents. AI can do a pretty good job summarizing up into about 100,000 tokens. After that, there's some context rot, which basically means that its ability to recall information and play it back is somewhat degraded. This 100 pages of content should be fine for the AI. We're going to do it in ChatGPT. We're going to create a GPT. We're going to create a project. And then in the next exercise, we'll come back and we'll have you create that in Notebook LM, which is Google's product, which has some really exciting features. Let's go ahead and get started. In ChatGPT, we've gone ahead and hit Explore and Create GPT. I'm going to show you a new element that we might not have looked at before. In order to add a picture here, we can upload a photo. So one of the things you might find is on the sidebar, there's library and there's the ability to search chats. Now, this is a really powerful feature, just in case you're not aware of it. Here's the white belt. We'll download it. And now we can go ahead and upload it back. We will call this white belt brain. I'm going to start with an easy prompt here, and we will advance it as we do our testing. I'm telling it you are a tutor designed to summarize content, answer questions, and support the user's learning of the materials. You are helpful and focus first on the knowledge library, cite the knowledge document, and include a link for each citation. Only use search if the answer cannot be found in the knowledge library. I'm just going to start with what do you want to learn. I'm going to leave on image generation because you might want an infographic. As we'll get into the yellow belt, infographic is not currently a strength of AI, but there are some interesting tools like Napkin AI that we will show in the yellow belt session. We're going to go ahead and upload files. Here's that MMA white paper. We've got a lot more files to upload. We've got a total of about 100 pages of content. We've uploaded the documents here, and we are going to select the model. I'm going to pick 5.1. We're going to talk about creating actions in the yellow belt session, but one of the things I want to do with this ChatGPT is I want to be able to have it set notifications and look for content information that is not in the materials that is related to newly released information. That will help me maintain the training program, and we'll show how we might do that. Okay, let's do a little bit of testing. I have Microsoft Copilot. Can you create a table that translates the training hands-on exercises to the tool I would use in Copilot? Let's see how it does. Okay, we can see the translation. We've got from exercise 1, the image generation fireflies. It talks about a Microsoft designer, and we see exploring bias, again, designer. We see some different instructions for personalization or Copilot Studio for the custom GPTs and so forth. We can try another one. We'll say translate the introduction into Spanish. We can see the introduction translated into Spanish. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, and I'll check with Google Translate. That looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and hit create, and that will officially launch it. Now I'm going to show you one other trick here. I'm going to change the access to anyone with the link, and we will make that available as part of the overall training program. Couple small tips. You will have files to upload. You may have noticed when I was adding the knowledge transfer, it wouldn't take all at once, but it looks like taking chunks of 5 to 10 is a good way of doing it. Just break it up into a couple different pieces, and then you'll have all the transcripts. Now, I'm going to ask one more question in the hit update. You could adjust it to instant if you want to perform faster. We'll hit View GPT. I want to check how well it's doing the citations because we might need to edit or tweak the instructions. The instructions were pretty thin. We didn't use a very advanced prompt for retrieval augmented generation. And lots of times with summarization, you don't need an extensive prompt to do a good job. So let's ask a question. What do I need to know about AI bias? And the key thing I want to look for is whether or not the AI is giving me the citation that I'm expecting to get. I opened up the sidebar so I could see what it was doing with the thinking. It looks like it only took 13 seconds. I'm noticing that it doesn't seem to be citing its sources. That might be something that I can go back through and change to make that more important to the AI. So how would I do that? For one, you can click back here and you can go to Edit GPT. And interestingly, with the instructions, you'll notice that I do say that it needs to cite its sources. Okay, we've updated the prompt. Now we're using Markdown. We've included a point about citation and a final check before the response. So let's go ahead and give that a try. We'll restate the question. We can see the thinking here, summarizing the key points, expanding. Interestingly, I still don't see the citation here. The answers are good. They're certainly tied to the content. Let's see. Now, sources from the White Belt Library. Okay. Hands-on exercises, advanced prompting, exercise 3. That's pretty good. Not quite the link to the documents we'd want, so I might go back and do fine-tuning. Now, the reality is GPT is not the best retrieval augmented generation. There are better tools to do that. We will show some of them in the yellow belt, but this gives a good idea of how we can use the content to answer questions and get the citations and point us back to the key information. I don't quite have the type of citations I want, so I'm going to ask, can you provide the link to the specific documents you are citing? If it can do this properly, what I'm then going to do is add that to the custom instructions as a few shot learning example. And it looks like I need to be even more specific because these aren't quite accessible to me here. So now, I'm getting an error. Part of this exercise is to show how you evolve prompting. One way that you can try to resolve this is to ask ChatGPT itself about solving the problem and tell it to do a search. In this case, I'm telling it that I can't click on the citations. Can you search the web and see if there is a proper way to get clickable citations? When I did this, it gave a research that MNT data path that we were seeing before won't work. And what it says instead is links are only clickable if they are formatted as standard markdown links with a full URL. For example, it gives us standard. And the key thing here is this bracket that's being used here. That's part of the markdown language. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the GPT to list all of the content with those brackets. You'll recall that I have all of the different articles we're going to add in listed in these documents on Google Drive, and I can successfully point to that. And if I give that in the markdown as a library with these titles, the AI should be able to map and solve the link problem. Let's give that a try. We ask our AI question again, and we can see that it has successfully answered the question. This time at the end, we can see a link to a citation. We can click on the link and it points to the document that's all about bias. So perfect, yay, it works. Okay, so how did we make that work? And how do we make sure that we can apply that to projects as well? In Edit GPT, what I did was after I got the tip on the markdown, I added a markdown for knowledge and I created the list. And you can see I used the brackets here. I tested something where I didn't use the exact same titles as the file names. There's a few slight variations, and the AI has been able to figure that out on its own. This works quite well, and I reinforced the point about making sure that it used the markdown links, and we're good to go. Okay, let's go ahead and apply the same thing to projects. So down in projects, we went to a new project. We created white belt. We gave it a different icon and color here. We've added files. Here, we're going to go click here and add instructions. Now, by default, this won't have any instructions. And the other thing to pay attention to is when you first set this up, if you go to new projects, you have a choice after you give it a name in the settings here to use project only memory, which is what I highly recommend doing when you set this up. Okay, here we will go back to instructions, add instructions. We'll add this part in. And this is the instructions that we used in the GPT. We've tested it with the same prompt. What do I need to know about AI bias? We can see it gives a good answer. My ideal use case of project is a tutor, and you can save your chats and conversations and come back to them later. You can't really do that with GPT in quite the same way. You can also share if you want to learn as a team. The other thing is I want to set up notifications. I want to know when there's been new features released by ChatGPT, and for it to review the content and decide if it warrants updating the training material. This is a prompt I've given it, and you can see that it's now set a notification, and it will check for new features. What we'll show in yellow and green belts is that we can build a whole workflow where it evaluates the new feature, determines if it should be part of the training session, creates a suggested script for the training, and then a human in the loop can determine yes or no we want to add it. And if it does, we'll show that we could create a workflow where it clones my voice, creates an avatar to present that new material so that the training materials are always kept up to date. That's a totally different way of thinking about workflow, because instead of a human having to monitor and keep track of it, we have AI looking at it 24/7 and potentially capable of automating the update flow. I put a human in the loop there because we want quality control, but at some point that human in the loop could be replaced with a supervisor AI agent that would weigh the pros and cons of changing the content. Give a try on creating projects, and then we'll come back in the next training and we'll look at how to do this in Google's Notebook LM.